Voila. All right, excellent. Cool. Just making sure my mic is working. Give me 17 seconds to send this. I believe that's done. Excellent. Cool. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the. Let me actually switch to the PDF. Aha. Excellent. Cool. Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Brother Rat Raven. This is the Black Bearman broadcast. We are at show 60. Just looking for this view thing. Hold on. Read mode. Give you a bit more space. All right, cool. So, welcome to the 60th show. So I believe there's been 60 of these. So that's not bad, isn't it? It's not bad at all. All right, cool. We're going to go through the formalities, the customs. Very important. We go as slow as they say. Let's go, go, go. So, after much research, I've unfortunately concluded that currently black people are collectively inadequate. Most unfortunate. I read this out every week, and the goal is to correct this. Collectively, a group of people seen as a whole, and the context, a group of people united in achieving goals. So, collectively, when it comes to achieving goals, as a whole, unfortunately, in many places all over the world, black people seem to be somewhat collectively inadequate. Unfortunately, but we're going to do something about that, and there's many reasons, and we can go through that now. Normally, the idea is either a guest or myself speaks for an hour, half an hour, 10 minutes or so, and then we throw out a link to let people in the public jump in. If you are live and you catch it, it's always good to catch it live. That's where the magic really happens. Uh, then please if we can maintain the 4D values, which are discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. These are four values are very handy for everyone. If you are going to jump on live, remember if you're going to try to actually help black people in your life, remember these four things, the 4Ds. That's discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. Very important. All right. So can also we ask the question: can descriptive language instead of derogatory language help black people stay better on topic? What you're going to find is when you go out in the world. Many black people are obviously affected by trauma and all other stuff, and low income, blah blah blah, and many of them are going to jump on YouTube or these kind of platform apps or whatever it is to discuss certain topics. And then you're going to have personalities, and eventually the personalities are going to start clashing. Black people seem to be very good at finding other black people to argue with. So I would say, if possible, to minimize that when you're doing black betterment work, meaning you're trying to seek solutions, try not to use a derogatory term. Unfortunately, it's programmed in many of us, especially when the internet's there and there is no filtering system. You tend to find that black people tend to not swear when the algorithms penalize them. But any kind of reasons of morality and stuff, not really. But that's just what it is. We're learning, moving forward, which is good. Right, cool. So here's some words for you guys in the future to pause. Just observe the words on the right, and then observe the words on the left, and try to use more of the right and less on the left when you're trying to help black people. This makes things slightly more easy, which is always good. Now, for those who don't know, Black Betterment, which is what this whole show is about, is black people helping black people on black issues for betterment. That's it. The whole premise of this show and the lifestyle is black people helping black people on with black issues for betterment. And that's literally what we're doing here. All right. And this is the lifestyle that this broadcast tries to promote. And hopefully it will affect other people. Now, before we get to our topic, well, let me just make sure I read that. Yeah, let me read this stuff, of course. Have to read this because we will be sharing some videos. And it ain't, we haven't actually made it ourselves. So we don't want to be stealing other people's copyright stuff and claim for ourselves. And we don't want to make money. Not that we make any money in this show. No offense, we lose money. Okay, so copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowances is made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comment, use reporting, scholarship, and research. For fair use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing non-profit educational personal tips balance the favor of fair use. Speed, killer speed of a millipede. Excellent. Isn't that great? Now, what we're going to do, before we even start the show, just as usual, I always build ideas and symbolic concepts and ways of that might actually help black people. Many of this stuff is, been done probably before, but just, trying to add a new one spin on it or whatever it might be, who knows. But one thing I was thinking about is this whole show is about a lifestyle. Now, the idea of a lifestyle, I always use the analogy of veganism. Let me just say blessings to everyone. The concept of this blessings, Brownie Diaries. Always good to see people there. Excellent, fantastic. As you know, if you follow, say, veganism, it's a lifestyle that where people try not to generally abuse the planet, but it comes in the form of animals, right? So animals not being killed, eaten, harmed for their fur, or even use any kind of like sports or anything like that. Generally, just leave the animals alone. That's a lifestyle. That's it. It's a simple, basic rule. Now, that seems to work, and that concept seems to be spread very, very wide. People understand it. So the concept now is: can we have a lifestyle that is basically black people helping black people and black issues? Now, the reason Black Burma, just for those who know the lifestyle is coming out, is because unfortunately, when you look at most other cultural groups have many intact historical cultures that keeps betterment in clear view and this kind of stuff, right? But with black people, especially those in diaspora, the out of African descent, those who went all the way from South America, North America, Central America, the Caribbean, and these kind of and find themselves all over Europe now and stuff. Unfortunately, because people were misplaced, moved, robbed of knowledge of self, all this kind of stuff, it's at times difficult to make black people do activities that is in black people's best interest. And you know the whole other story, and we'll unpack that as time goes by. So what could we do to make that concept make more sense? One thing is establish a lifestyle. Now, within the lifestyle, it could just be something like uh, um, betterment for black people. That could be a good idea. But the reason why it has to be, and let's go back, black people helping black people, is because what you're going to find as you research black betterment, any kind of establishment, anytime black people engage in any kind of movement that's about black people getting better, and they include non-black people, without delay, usually find that the momentum and you know and the energy tends to go towards the guest group. And that's because, unfortunately, many black people, if you didn't know this, some of them, a tremendous amount, have been conditioned to practice subservience. And this is something that we're going to work on. And this will tie into the topic of the show as well. So one idea that I'm working on, I'll be updating as time goes by, is the concept of after we have a lifestyle in place, black betterment, black people of a small group or a big group come together to form fellowships, right? That's like a collection of, that's just another word for brotherhood, sisterhood, come together. And basically, people come together with the sole purpose of practicing black betterment. And the idea is when they come together and they come and discuss all the good stuff, they have the idea of all members trying to get into media, business, and education just to, practice black betterment on a wider scale. So in the media, they try to have content that is actually more uplifting, more educational, more towards the benefit of black people. I guess an agenda, having a black agenda is what we're talking about here, and stuff like this, right? And we have I'll get to brother or sister W. Wilds. When are you dressing Nigerians selling their own? We shall talk to that. We give it some time. We shall talk on that. Cool. All right. So where are we there? Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Yeah. So this is the fellowship. So that's one thing that we'll be unwrapping as weeks go by. Another thing is also who gets to represent black people in the media, or just anyway general. We want to make sure that if we can, we want high principled people to be taken more serious, who have black betterment at their kind of helm, and error-prone people to be more pitied and to be hopefully taught in silence or underground how to be more high principled. I think, unfortunately, when it comes to mainstream, also because black people don't own much media, if any at all, you tend to find that waywardness and error-proneness seems to be widespread, and this seems to be the face, unfortunately, when it comes to marketing for black people. This isn't best practice. And regardless of what you are in the arts, this should make sense. Other people groups tend to understand this. Unfortunately, black people seem to suffer in some aspects, and because there is no real leadership or media control of a decent level, is problematic. So this is something that I guess if we were to form fellowships has to be addressed. Now All right, so now we're gonna, without no delay, move on to the topic of the today. And the topic of today is: does black self-hate make it easier for outsiders to join in? All right, and we also take a look at the black experience in Colombia. The reason we do because the motivation for the actual topic happened in Colombia, I believe, but it happens all the time, and we'll go into that. So, for those who are trendy and following what's going on the interweb and all that good stuff, there's There's an incident that happened in Colombia, and you know, it's not really, this thing is normal for me, but you know, we try to be trending, and then we try to expand it and really see the history of it and all that good stuff. So what this new video we're going to show is not my video, it's from someone on YouTube, but because they did all the work for us, we're going to take it and let's do it, which is always good. That's right. So we're going to press play with no delay.
Hot water.
Rewind.
J Balvin seems to have landed himself in hot water.
Those that know, this white individual at the top right corner is an artist called J Melvin. Maybe you listen to his music. I don't listen to trendy stuff. If he's trendy, I probably don't listen to him. So you probably know more about him than I do. But let's see the folly he did.
Water, as the music video for his song Para was mysteriously pulled from YouTube. Let's break this down.
Over the weekend, music fans were in for a huge shock when they realized that
Also, names are being mentioned in the forum. We always try to be as constructive as possible, but you know, I don't know the particular incident that might have happened. But if you could just write down what has gone wrong, and then we can cover it when I start going through it. But right now I'm not too sure what's going on.
J Balvin and Tokischa's official music video for Para had been removed from YouTube.
All right, so what's happening so far? They've made a song that's been removed for a scandalous reason, I suspect.
The move comes after the visuals and lyrics of the song had been caught in a firestorm for several weeks, with a slew of online users branding the material as obscene, misogynistic, and even racist.
Even racist. I think we should start with racism because I suspect that was the heart of it, but I could be wrong.
The controversial music video shows women, most of them black.
Oh, there you go. Women, most of them black. So something's happening.
Literally turned into female dogs.
Female dogs, as you would expect, them being women.
And at one point, Balvin is even filmed walking two of them while...
Well, for those who can't see the screen because you're cooking and looking after your children late at night at 10 p.m., there's a European gentleman with two black females. I should say women, to be fair, but I guess because of the dog and that stuff, we would say females. And yeah, and he's walking them. I suspect some kind of racial fetish art, but it ties into our topic for the day.
Pulling on leashes around their necks. Okay. I mean, the highly explicit content drew so much criticism that even the vice president of Colombia, Balvin's country of origin, ended up calling him out on it. Marta Lucia Ramirez condemned the song as a whole in an official statement where she explained that it incites and justifies violence against women by objectifying their bodies as they're depicted as property of men. The song itself is graphic in nature, with Jay singing lyrics that translate to...
Now, obviously, misogynistic stuff is wrong, and, you know, men mistreating women is something we have to stop. But you tend to find that whenever black people are mistreated, women, all the rest of it, the whole, you know, you always... Like I said before, once you start mixing the kind of topic, it will be an assault on women, and then the blackness will take second step. And there's something to be aware of.
You are a bitch in heat, and you are looking for a dog to get stuck to, as well as I put you on all fours. You are a bitch, not a cat. Yikes. At the time of reporting,
I suspect that was said in his maybe Portuguese, or is it Spanish? I think Spanish, to be honest.
It remains unclear whether it was YouTube itself that made the decision to axe the video that had already accumulated more than 5 million views, or if it was J
Balvin must be relatively popular in those Spanish-speaking countries.
Balvin's team. It's worth noting, however, that Dominican rising rapper Tokischa appears to be standing by her song, taking it.
Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, that is not the average Dominica, and there is a high history of colorism and anti-Africanism in Dominican Republic, which you have covered here. And we shall cover more in the future.
Instagram stories on Tuesday to post an image of a smirking dog while...
Very cool looking dog there, very cool.
Para plays in the background. And in a recent interview with Alafoca radio show, Tokischa revealed how the inspiration for the song originally came to her, and well, it's just as explicit. Toki went on to say that while she was being pleasured in a cabin, she looked up at a mirror on the ceiling, and upon seeing herself, she said, "Wow, I'm a bitch in heat." She added that she sent J Balvin several demos, including romantic and dancehall tracks, but that he ended up liking Para for reasons she said are unbeknownst to her. And when asked about her thoughts on kids listening to her music, Tokischa said, "It's not my responsibility. I don't make music for children. You have control over how you raise your children, over what you teach them. If your child is influenced by anyone outside home, that's your responsibility." She topped it off, noting that she's not responsible for fixing or taking care of society, and that she doesn't feel inclined to any social commitment regarding that topic. As a side note, Balvin's current nemesis, Residente, who recently claimed that J Balvin's songs are like hot dogs and not worthy of a Latin Grammy, also featured people being treated like dogs in his latest music video for Flow HP featuring Don Omar. However, this time it's the other way around. That is, men are the ones shown with chains around their necks and women tugging on them. No outrage unfolded on social.
Once again, I'm not just sure the scene in Spanish-speaking pop music or urban pop, or whatever they call it nowadays. I think one of the issues we have to have is this is what's popular around the world. This kind of stuff, whatever.
Media, which prompted some tweets crying out about a double standard. J Balvin and Tokischa have not addressed this scandal as of yet, so we're just gonna have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Now go ahead and click right over
Right, no, okay, so make sure you click on
here for another clever music video, and let me know in the
whoever this person is. We've sort of taken the stuff. We should have got the name. Just show them, but find them and watch their stuff because they've made the effort. Anyway, what ties into there? Obviously, we're going to go to hold the Columbia stuff, whatever. Well, one thing is like, the question we ask is, does black self-hate make it easier for outsiders to join in? Like, if many non-black people are seeing, black people, really indulge in self-deprecation and this kind of stuff, and insulting ourselves, insulting our men, our women, and the children, in entertainment forms, and it's on the mainstream. I understand art. The thing with art, it's meant to be subjective or whatever it is, whatever, right? But if we, this is the mainstream stuff, and obviously, there is no accountability in the sense of no one really at the high levels, most of the artists is going to be really black betterment focused or black at all. And obviously, this is an issue that people have to discuss. This is why there is a benefit, allegedly, of music industries being run by black people who practice black betterment. Just like we talked before that within Jewish people who are in the music industry, any kind of a degrading kind of thing from happens to Jewish people, let's stop before it gets released. I think Michael Jackson had to release move out certain kind of songs that might have mentioned Jewish people. I can't remember, which is good. They've got that kind of overlook, and I think that's kind of what black people need to have, without question. And so this is something that we have to talk about. Like, do black people make it very comfortable for non-black people to just say certain things, to do certain things? Once too long ago, there was a European pop Greek artist from the UK called Dappy, and I think he said the N-word, and he wanted to keep saying it. I've met many non-black people who like saying the N-word and this concept of reclaiming it. They get this from black people, usually black people who are practicing subservience. They like to be around non-black people and make them feel comfortable. You tend to find that many black people are dedicated to making non-black people feel comfortable, even at the discomfort of black people. It's unfortunate, but this goes on. So that goes on. But I'm going to show you one other video. This is a video that happened in America. It was a battle. So they, two rappers were battling, and this is interesting what happened here. Let's see what happens.
Bump them with the
rewind.
You gonna put your team on the mat? I leave everybody hanging over your shoulders still. I can old school bump them with the shoulder still or shoulder still. Box him up.
That's about it. So those who know about battles, it's basically two rappers using lyrics and rhymes to insult each other, spectacle kind of stuff. And one of the rappers is a European, and he's rapping against a black rapper, and he's using lyrics to try to insult him. Let's see what happens.
What the David Blaine or the Holyfield? Either way. Either way.
What else?
Get tragic at the end. David Blaine, Holyfield. So I got magic in these hands. And I ain't like these other battle rappers. They talk too much. Saying I can't use the N-word in this battle. My nigga, I just call you.
Right, so let's just talk about what happened is I think the European rapper was, the white rapper was trying to say that, black people tell me I can't say the N-word, and then he went and said it. I think that was like the political license and controversial thing. I think the rapper just just punched him in the face. Not that I'm saying we should be going and punching anyone really, but I think what we want to be doing is we want to create a scenario where people just are not comfortable doing that. And I think the way you can do this is by having a certain form of self-respect for yourself and these kinds of things. But I'm just showing this is something that came along. Now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at the history of Colombia, because obviously this first incident happened in Colombia. So there's gonna be like a 4-minute, 5-minute video of racism in Colombia. For those who haven't been to the South America, or pretty much South America to be fair, there are some complaints that there is, the racism there is very embedded in the sense of you won't necessarily see a lot of black people on kind of mainstream stuff, and that's why the lifestyle of Black Burman is definitely something we want to spread worldwide. We want Black people to actually just be completely dedicated to Black Burman and focus on Black issues and try to build media and institutions based around these concepts. We're going to listen to the brother now. This is a brother from AfriNet. So Google that. Follow this brother. He does narrations about all over Africa and this kind of diaspora, this kind of stuff. So let's see about the Colombian history. I think we covered Argentina not too long ago. Unfortunately, Argentina, made the Black Afro were killed in the war. They were asked to go in the trenches. But let's see the history of Colombia and the African diaspora. Voila!
Yo, guys, welcome back again today. And today we're going to be talking about Afro-Colombians, people of African descent that are in Colombia and South America. Afro-Colombians are located in Colombia and nearby coastal islands. The estimated population of the group is around 14 million, and they can be categorized into 4 different groups. The first 2 groups, being the Black community and the Afro-Colombian community, are broad classifications for all Colombians of African descent in the country, while the other 2 groups, the Palenqueros and the Razales, have their own distinct cultures and languages. The Palenqueros live in the Afro-Colombian town of San Basilio Palenque. They speak a mix of Spanish and Palenquero. This town was founded around 1599, and the word Palenque refers to this settlement of freed enslaved Africans. The most famous African from the city would be Bincos Biajo. Once, he was a member of African royalty from Guinea-Bissau in West Africa, but was taken into slavery to Colombia. In 1599, he would escape with other enslaved Africans and form this town. He would escape, form ways of communication between slaves, and freed more slaves. He escaped away from the Spanish Empire many times, and eventually the Spanish would make a deal with him. If he would stop freeing slaves, as well as accepting them, the Spanish would leave his settlement alone. The Spanish would not hold up on their side of the treaty and killed Bincos in 1621. The Razales are Afro-Colombians that live off of the coast, on the islands of San Andreas, Santa Catalina, and Providencia. These islands are located between Colombia and Jamaica within the Caribbean Sea. The Razales speak a mix of Spanish, Creole, and English. This is due to many foreign powers fighting over the islands throughout the history of Colombia. The island of San Andreas became tax-free in 1953, and this led to many non-Afro-Colombians creating business on the island. While other Colombians were creating businesses, this would widen the gap of wealth between the Razales and other Colombians. Afro-Colombians began being imported as slaves in the 1520s. The Africans came from African countries such as modern-day Ghana, Nigeria, Gambia, Congo, Angola, Mali, Senegal, Cameroon, and Sierra Leone. These Africans were forced to work sugarcane plantations, cattle ranches, and gold mines. These Africans would pioneer the extracting of gold deposits and the growing process of sugarcane in many parts of the country. Labor was also a big part of development for the country, and Africans were the main tool to developing the cotton, tobacco, and textile industries. Afro-Colombians also played a big part in Colombia's independence from Spain. It is said that every 3 of 5 soldiers were African in the Colombian army. Many Afro-Colombians also lived in the jungle areas for protection at this time and built a relationship with other indigenous Colombian peoples. This event also happened due to the government of Colombia at the time promoting the ideology of mixing. So in order for Africans and Amerindians to maintain their cultural traditions, they would live within the jungle away from other populations. Amerindians and Afro-Colombians were also targeted for their lands, so other Colombians could develop more coffee, banana, and sugarcane plantations. In 1944, El Choco would be the first majority African political administrative division. Within Colombia, many Afro-Colombians faced racial discrimination, absence from high-level government positions, and many of their communities underdeveloped.
Right, so let me stop there. So what you're going to find if you're a Black person, no matter where you go in the world, if you're identified as Black or African descent, no matter what happens, without delay, these scenarios will be the same. Everything the brother just said there will be the same. And this is why a dedication to Black Burman is the solution. And you can't drop from that. 100% dedication to black people and black people on black issues without delay. This is something that's very challenging to train black people, because black people have been trained to be anti-black in every single aspect of the way. But it is what it is, and we shall hopefully get dedicated movements to reverse that and stay on it and not slip up. I think every time we get to a certain point, we always hand the baton to someone else. Never a good idea. Let's carry on.
Many Afro-Colombians and Amero-Indians were discriminated against by Spanish Colombians, who felt that they were superior coming from Europe. In 1970, the region of Choco, with a big Afro-Colombian community, were taken for the cultivation of soybean. This one event sent many black Colombians to urban cities trying to escape the war and poverty. This affected the community in many ways, such as the youth joining factions to obtain money and escape poverty, and Afro-Colombians being discriminated against in big major urban cities. In a nation of majority mestizo people, or Spanish Europeans and Native Americans who have mixed, Afro-Colombians developed a divide on what it meant to be African. In the 1990s, black political consciousness would arise once more. Many debates between Afro-Colombian intellectuals would occur at this time as well. This led to movements for black economics, political, and social empowerment. These events would move more Afro-Colombians into political positions within the country. From the late 90s to the 2000s, many conflicts would happen and many Afro-Colombian communities would be in the middle. Many would pass away from conflicts about land, in which the Afro-Colombians had been on for a long period of time. Despite the discrimination in Colombia, Afro-Colombians have a very strong spirit. Black Colombians have influenced Colombia's music, customs, and art heavily throughout its history. The drums and ritual singing is very strong in the Afro-Colombian communities, and music is used to express and preserve their culture. Many festivals are also held by the community as well, such as the Petronio Alvarez, which is a big summer event. This festival lasts 5 days and highlights fashion and food. This festival is held in the city of Cali, where more than 100,000 people from all over the world travel to the city for the festival every year. And Cali is also a big city where many Afro-Colombians live, or the population is very high for Afro-Colombians. Afro-Colombians also have distinct food that they are known for, such as rondon, which uses such ingredients as coconut milk, coconut oil, yuca, and sweet green plantains. So you guys, we learned about the Afro-Colombian population today. There's a long history of people of African descent in Colombia and throughout Central and South America. So yo guys, please like, subscribe, turn on the bell notification down there so you get all my videos. Check out some of the merchandise down there as well too.
Yeah, go follow.
And also follow me on all my social medias, which is African
Fantastic. Let me see what it's called on it.
Network, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, and Snapchat.
Go follow that, brother. You know, reward him for actually making the videos and all that good stuff. Thank you, brother. Cool. So a few questions. Why do Africans call us a Carter? I think I think it's more so West Africans towards people in the diaspora of the thing. And this disconnect, all I'm saying about black people, tribalism and these kind of words and hating each other. And this is something we're going to definitely have to work on. It doesn't work out. We can also cover that one day if you want. Black people who discover infighting and dedicate there. Now, we're going to do. We've got one more video. This is just a quick video. It goes on forever, so I might just give it 2 minutes, 3 minutes. A brother from America, he walks around and he interviews people from wherever he's at. And this is his show, so make sure you like it, whatever. Let's make sure there's anything I haven't said. UK rappers. So with the UK, so just so you know, when it comes to rap and stuff, I'm only going to know underground, very talented lyricists. If they're in the mainstream, I'll have no idea who they are. So you have to inform me. I think someone says, so whoever KSI is, don't know what he's doing, but if you could just give a link to what he's done and we can discuss it. I've no idea who that is. But if he's not a great lyricist on the underground, and I wouldn't know. All right, where are we? All right, so there's a quick interview with a Afro-Colombian from an African American, just asking about how Colombia is, and let's see what she says. Rewind.
Is your prejudice in Medellin or Colombia and a lot of attention. People love the topic a lot, so they wanted me to do a follow-up and talk to a black Colombian to get their perspective on this. Given my perspective as a tourist, you know, I don't live here. I haven't lived here for years, so I want to interview Marielle, correct? How you doing, Marielle?
Good, and you?
Thanks for doing this for me, okay? Now, Marielle is originally from Choco, it's called? Choco?
Choco.
That's a black community about 4 hours from here or longer.
I think this brother's called Carlton's. Hold on, it's Carlton's Travel Adventures. So make sure you follow that brother. I'm not just trying to take his videos. You know, just then. Carter is a derogative word apparently used by Nigerians and South African Americans, according to Google. There you go. Yeah. So if there's any Nigerians who do that, we're more than welcome to start a show about why is it necessary to do that. Definitely not beneficial.
30 minutes by plane and like 8 hours by car.
8 hours car. I plan to go there in probably July and do some taping in Choco. Okay. So she's lived there in Medellin for 8 years. All right. So I want to talk to her, get her perspective on what it's like to be black in Colombia. Now the first thing I had was, you know, the U.S. has a history of slavery and Jim Crow and, you know, and lynching and so forth. And we've gone through phases of names. For instance, you know, you have the nigga, the Negro, colored, blacks, no, African American. I wanted to find out more from her of what they prefer to be called here in Colombia. You prefer to be called Afro-Colombian, Black Colombian, Afro-Latino. So what do you think, what do you prefer to be called as a Black Colombian?
Well, as a Black Colombian, I prefer to be called Afro-descendant because as we were born here, or I was born here, sometimes Black people doesn't feel like they are part of the country. So some Black people doesn't like to be called Afro-Colombian, so
Prefer to be called Afro-descendant.
Afro-descendant, yeah.
Okay, all right. But that's the same feeling for everyone, that they prefer to be called that. If I called you a Black Colombian, would you be offended or would you be fine?
I'd be fine.
But you must prefer to be the other one.
Afro-descendant.
Okay, see, I never heard that. First time, I learned something new every day. That's really cool. So now you guys know, Afro-descendant. Okay, great. What percentage of blacks is there in Medellin and Colombia in general? What percentage?
In Medellin there is the 10%, and in Colombia in general also the 10%. But we think that we are more in Colombia.
Interesting. She told me that, you know, we're talking earlier, she said that that's the official percentage, the 10%, but there's a feeling that it's about 20%, right, you're saying?
Yeah.
You know? And the feeling is because they want to keep the number lower?
Yeah. And now I remember that there is something that when they are going...
The pause for a bit. So just reading the stuff, which UK rappers don't use it? 90% do use it. As for KSI, he makes comedy out of slavery, like bootleg documentaries. If you have any links to any of these videos, I don't know who these rappers are, whatever, but please put it in there so we can study it. Self-hating is something we are studying this week, and also obviously when self-hating comes to a form of self-hating, tribalism, whatever, and how that allows non-black people to feel comfortable to mistreat black people. Not that they need an excuse or a reason, but it does make it easier. And more, what's this? We got more information. Hold on, blah blah. They're talking. A Carter is used by Nigerians who live in the West and come up to Nigeria too. Not okay. So it's a derogatory term for Americans and Nigerians who come back. I guess American culture, whatever. Just listen to 2 more minutes of the sister talking about her experience, and then we can maybe unpack whatever else is going.
Like the surveys for knowing...
Surveys?
Surveys,
right,
yeah. They don't, in the past, they don't used to ask, do you consider yourself as a black person or mestizo or indigenous? So a lot of black people maybe wasn't including those numbers.
In the census, it's called census, right?
Census,
yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, so before they didn't have any race?
Question
about race? Okay, so they didn't know how many black people were here?
No, so maybe they were, I don't know, they were going to a house and maybe they were light-skinned people
Oh,
And
okay.
if they don't see that they are black, they are not gonna put black on
Oh,
the.
okay. Oh, so the person who took it would check off. Okay, all right.
Mhm.
So, or mixed people, let's say you mix between black and white, they consider themselves black here or just consider themselves mixed? And
They
consider themselves
a
black?
lot of them consider themselves as white people.
If you mix it, consider
They
yourself
don't
white.
consider them like mixed people. We call them mestizos,
Mestizos, okay.
but they don't consider themselves.
Oh, I thought mestizos, see I'm learning again, I thought mestizos was more the Indian mix, but it's, to you it's black and white mixes, mestizos.
Okay, black and white are called mulattoes.
Right, okay, mulattoes. Okay. And mestizos is more the Indian mix.
Indians.
Indian with the blacks? Oh,
Indian and white people.
Indian and white, okay, all right. So the black and white are mulattoes.
Yeah.
Now, most of them consider themselves black or white.
Right, let's see what's going on in the talking forum. We have to be honest. Many black Africans and Africans living in the West. Do you think they're better than Nigerians in Nigeria? That's how we need to tackle that being better. That seems to be stemming into some kind of tribalism, and also this is this self-hatred that we're talking about. This kind of concept where a person feels they're better because they're closer to Europeans and this kind of stuff, or European culture, whatever. This is something that needs to be completely reversed. But we'll listen to 1 more minute of this, then we'll stop it. Go!
Here,
The black and white mix.
yeah.
Maybe black or mulattoes.
Okay, all right, okay. So I'm curious if they include them in the 10% of the black folks, or they kind of exclude them. You know, when they do the census, the 10% black here, do they include mixed people as black in the census? I don't know.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Because now the question is there. Like,
Okay.
you consider yourself as a black person, indigenous, blah, blah, blah. And some mulattoes don't consider themselves as a black
So
person.
they might check off white or something.
White or mestizo,
Oh, mestizos,
something else,
okay.
but not black.
Ah, okay, all right. Interesting to know. All right, great. All right. This thing is real curious because I notice it a lot, and even today, as I go into the banks, you go into the Exoto supermarket, home center, Karuja, I think it's called, all these big stores. I don't see many blacks working there though. Not even inside stacking the shelves. I just don't see them. I know that I'm in a white neighborhood, or Poblado, Loretos is mostly white. But even when I go downtown to El Centro, which is black, I don't see blacks working in those stores. So, I was just curious if they even hire blacks, or they don't apply for the jobs, or what. I don't know, So it's something I just noticed. I'm sure you might
The brother's noticing that he's not seeing black people anywhere, especially in work.
not know the answer to that, but I just notice it all the time, and I always wonder, where are the black folks? I just don't see that.
Yeah, me neither.
You either?
Me neither.
Okay,
So-
I have to ask a politician about that. Okay, all right, that's an issue. All right. Same thing, when I was in Premium Plaza today, the big shopping center, and I was in Santa Fe Mall last week, I go around these malls, I don't see any black advertisement, we have pictures of models or the kids' pictures and so forth that advertise the things. I don't see any black folks in those pictures. I noticed it just today as I go around town. I don't see black folks at all in those kind of pictures or an advertisement. So I'm not sure what caused that, but I guess maybe they figure, maybe are there other smaller malls in black neighborhoods that might have them that I don't know about?
So there are some advertisements on the street, like the bus stop, that
Right.
they have black people.
Right.
And in this case, it's more related with black policies. For example, the city has a black, an Afro-descendant policy for black people. Is that right? To say a policy.
Okay.
And they have advertising for that policy. So they need black people for advertising.
Okay, that
I will stop there, but just break down what this is saying. So the brother says he's not seeing no ads. Many people say when they go to South America, they don't see any black people on ads. Of course. And also what you're saying is the only time you'll see black people on ads is when it's certain kind of policy-driven stuff, I don't know, something where we're trying to tackle black people do more of this and less of that. We'll make an ad about it, and we'll support a black person. That we see that all over. Yeah. And then there's some mentions in the forum about, there's some people, many mixed race folk in North Africa don't see themselves as black. Yeah, so when most people will always try to distance themselves from whatever blackness is, Africanness, and anything like that because of the history of demonization, this kind of stuff. Well, what you'll find is if African people or black people started dominating and holding industries and were really up all over the world, then everyone will try to be black, and this concept of black fishing and all this kind of stuff would heighten, and people would, because they'll be benefited in being identified as African or a black person, right? And this is the thing we say. So it is what it is. Now we got for that, and we can stop that there. Let me switch back. Voila, add to street 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it's voila. Cool. So yeah, so we took us 40 minutes, not too long, I guess. So does black self-hate make it easier for outsiders to join in? Well, yeah, yes, it does. But people can have their say. Just on the side note, just to let you know about future shows, I have actively gone out because there was other topics that we will be covering more in the future, and one of them is obviously black women who are not best pleased with black men, black women who don't feel safe around black men. And the rise of that, the stories of those women. We want to set a time aside and a panel aside for black women to speak openly, just so we can listen as black men, and then have a man panel afterwards and talk. I have approached many black women who I've throughout the internet land, and I've invited them. I've given them links. Some might be listening now, some might not. I don't know. There's also ones who have ignored me. There are some who I suspect that their mind is made up. They're not want to interact with black men. So be it. But the idea of this show is to be solution based. And so if you are yourself a black woman who is not best pleased with some of the actions of black men collectively, then this will be the show for you. We will be setting up that talking. But as for this week, we have asked a question. And if anyone would like to jump in, now is the time. So what I'm going to do is wait a minute. Where's Aries? Found it. There you go. Excellent. I thought I lost the link, which is never good. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to throw the link out there. Anyone wants to jump in, you're free to jump in. This week's topic is, does black self-hate make it easier for outsiders to join in? Some brothers will talk about this word akata, which is, a form of self-hate. This is a spin-off of a tribalism concept where people view a different black group separated by the sea and time as maybe lesser. Some people say the stem might come from jealousy. Then some other people now say, no, actually, some people, when they come back, they feel they're better, and so that word comes there. Who knows? You're more than welcome to jump in and talk about this. If you wish to discuss this, now is your time. Here we go. So-called black male leaders hiding absent from... okay, there you go. So-called black male leaders hiding absent from Afro Rosemont. So now we're going to move into yes. And one of the issues we will be covering, this is a big topic we have to be covering. It is... do black women feel protected by black men? Is there much work to be done? I personally feel there's much work to be done to reforming and repurposing many black men collectively. I do feel that the basics of protecting and providing for many black people might have fallen short. There's many movements coming out where you're seeing separation between black men and black women. Well, women and men in general, to be honest, but we only focus on black men and black women here because that's what the concept of the show is. But the difference is one of the things we don't want to do in this show is to have two separate groups talking at each other and never to each other. So we try to form a way of communicating that actually works. So what we will do now, as I reckon, is allow black women to have their say, and then we get a panel going back and forth that we can mediate. Then we can learn next week, the week after, whatever. Have black men go over it, and then try to find solutions for it. But yes, like I said, I'll repeat again: if you're a black woman and you're not best pleased collectively how men are acting, that's an issue. We're gonna welcome a very fantastic contributor to the show, Brother Kel. Welcome back again. How's it going?
Greetings, Brother Raven. I appreciate the introduction, my brother. It's going okay, man. A little bit cold, but we roll on.
That's cool. So for just update you and anyone who's just joined with you, This week's show is about, does black self-hate make it easier for outsiders to join in? And this is something that we've seen a lot, but it was spared, but it was pushed forward because somewhere in Colombia, maybe a club in arts, I don't know if he's based in Colombia, he had some video of black women walking dressed like naked dogs, actually, would you say it? And he was like, I guess I could show a video of it maybe for push that.
All your thoughts.
President of Point,
there we
Balvin
go.
is Eve filmed walking.
So there's this European Colombian individual, and he's walking, and apparently most of the black people in there were dogs, and then we went around and started researching what is it actually like for black people in Colombia, and we found that it's very similar to black people pretty much all over the diaspora, to be honest, when facing Europeans or non-black people, whatever. And yeah, so this is what made us go to this topic. Let's go back. Voila. So does black self-hate make it easier for outsiders to join in? And we also gave examples of European rappers using the N-word and this kind of stuff. And there was one in the UK called Dappy, and there was a few in America called whatever the name was, I can't remember. But, it sparked some kind of controversy at the time. And then I briefly mentioned about subservience, but many black, young African black males really want to feel fitted and really want everyone to really engage in whatever cultural norms, and this kind of encourages it. But that's just me talking. Do you have any opinions on this particular topic at all, Brother Kale?
Yeah, this is a very, very, very interesting, and it should be unpacked topic, because the Honourable Marcus Garvey said that the biggest weapon against the Africans is disorganization. I have noticed, as you know, Brother Raven, we have an amazing blueprint, Pan-Africanism, and the branches. There's many different ones from, Black Betterment and etc. But I've noticed that when you're using these blueprints, whether it be in religion, socialism, whatever it may be, is that the South or unsynchronized Africans have made it very difficult to the extent that if you are a deep brown African, or a medium brown African, or a light brown African, and non-Africans, the way they speak about deep brown Africans and medium brown Africans, and you stand up and speak up for that, it's almost as if that you have unlocked the Bermuda Triangle on them, and they've got to the stage where they're so used to put down the different shades of African people in front of unsynchronized African people, that when there is a synchronized African person, it becomes very intense, more like a warfare, that you're defending it, if that makes any sense.
So break it down. So what you're saying is that because of these forms of colorism, when there's someone who's aware this is wrong, when that person speaks up, that it becomes a harder journey to do. Is that what you're saying? Am I right?
Yeah, I'll give you an example.
Please do.
A non-African person will go to the lighter hue of the Africans, and they will speak ill of dark-skinned people, right?
Yes.
As though you are not African and black yourself.
Right,
And they do so well. You understand what I mean, don't you, Brother Raven?
I do, yes.
They do it so well. It's almost as if, like, well, you're not the same complexion as them, so you're not as them. Whereas on the flip side, if you are lighter hue, they'll come to you, or they'll go to the darker hue, and they'll say, well, you're not exactly a mixed race, are you? And that, or they'll use words like half caste, which is very, very offensive. Mixed race and half caste is very offensive anyway, if you look at the movement. But they have that comfortability due to us being unsynchronized. They have that tendency of displaying these disorganized behaviors that disorganize us as a whole.
So it sounds like to me this strategy of divide and conquer. Sorry, that's the word. Divide and conquer. Very good strategy. That's very handy. And yeah, I think this is where they use words to actually highlight this concept, where they can say, okay, well, you're from here, or you speak like this, or you're this tone, whatever. You're very different. But I remember saying, I really say this all the time. When it comes to mistreating black people or African people, everyone knows who they are. But when it comes to helping black people, African people, no one knows who they are. And this seems to be something I've seen that it seems to be planned by now. And sometimes when you start seeing the same thing repeating all the time, it has to be a plan. So the idea of this show is to actually have these discussions and to get all people of African descent, African people, black people, to chime in. Now we have a new guest here we haven't seen in a long time. We're going to welcome Sister Betty. It has been a long time, Sister Betty. Let us just prepare. Hello, Sister Betty. A long time no hear from. How are you doing?
Yeah, hi, Raven. How can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah,
hi. Interesting topic.
It is. It is an interesting topic. As you are the guest, do you have any opinions on does black self-hate make it easy for outsiders to join in?
Yeah, it's almost like it's Sun Tzu, the art of warfare. Divide and conquer, if you can. That's one of the things that the Western Europeans, when they colonized Africa, they would look for the differences in the different African groups and the tensions, and they would play each other off against each other. And, and then they did the same thing with the Willie Lynch letter, innit? Look for the lighter complexion, the hair that is straighter, the nose that is thinner. That's what they did. But they did the same thing on a wider scale in Africa. They look for the African that's mixed with the Arab, and then they're Muslim, and then they look for the African that is just African and just native African religions, and then they'll play each other off against each other. That's what they'll do. But they won't tell you the greater picture is to conquer you all and subjugate you.
Interesting, yeah. I read that this was a similar strategy done to the South Americans throughout. So it's definitely it seems to be a war tactic, and the latest that seems to be here today. One of the things we're covering is this concept of being around non-black people or non-Africans, and them feeling very comfortable to do things derogatory. I'm not sure if you're too aware of this clip, but this is
while pulling on leashes around.
You saw that. So basically, this is a European Colombian individual, and he's made a song, and people are not best pleased with it, where he's got black women dressed as dogs, and he's pulling them, saying derogative terms and stuff. And I think the question was, is this learned behavior? Has he seen this being done through black African music of some before? Or is this something that could he have done this before? Is this something that he could have done for other women, or is it just making them out of a molehill? This is what the question is today.
I think like obviously in a lot of African American music, you've got the word dog, aren't you? You've got Snoop Dogg, and all the constantly referring to other black people as dogs and all this type of stuff. But also there's a lot of like bitch as well, isn't there? Like a lot of black men have made a lot of money, calling referring to black women as bitches. So this European South American guy, he's capitalizing on it because that's what's selling, isn't it? And he'd be a misogynist anyway. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of misogyny in music anyway, and do you know what I mean? They don't care about the effect dehumanizing black women because they're making money, isn't it? Who's going to hold them accountable?
And I think this ties into what we're saying about being organized to try to actually counter some of this stuff, to get in certain places of power. Kind of like how the Jewish people, I think I mentioned earlier, the Jewish people, they kind of stopped Michael Jackson and some other artists from saying derogative imagery that didn't put Jewish people in the best light. And those were stopped down quite easy. And I think now we're seeing this kind of more so in the LGBTQ plus community, where certain comments they're not best pleased with, and obviously black men who are very controlled by money and finance have to apologize for any words they say. And I think
they don't have to apologize to black women. They don't have to apologize to their counterpart. That is the issue, where black men are allowed to get away with disrespecting black women.
This is the
You
issue.
know what I mean? But they can't do it to a white man or the gay community. They'll get pulled up.
Accountability, and this is why we were saying that's why it might be necessary to have kind of like power structures in play where this is a principle, and the principle is black man doesn't mistreat black women and black children, and black men have a value of protecting black women. This is something, and this also bleeds on to do black women feel safe around black men collectively. There's obviously many movements that's starting up in England as well as in the diaspora of black women going their own way and not wanting to necessarily be around black men for certain reasons. And we definitely want to make sure that black women feel safe around. That should be like the generic basic things that feel protected. But in certain areas that might not be practiced. So definitely we want to try to find a way to solve that.
Yeah, but I think also, Raven, I think you have to look at it in the sense of the black men that are prepared to make their money calling black women bitches and stuff like that. Whenever you look at these black men, like someone like, for example, like Snoop Dogg, this guy is known for being a womanizer, constantly cheating on his wife with the Hobo Rainbow Coalition. He's not someone that came from a stable background. So he would have been the kid that saw his father disrespect his mother. So, like, I'm not. When I've looked at these artists, these black men that are doing it, I'm yet to see a black man that grew up in a stable background that is doing this. It's always these black men that either came from a broken home or there's something's gone on in their lives. And if we deal with that issue, the other issue will sort itself out.
Good point. So I think what Sister Betty is saying is if we get the family structure correct, and within the family structure, we have the man and the woman and the value for the man. And I think that's just something that no one can disagree with that. And I think that's also when we bleed into the media. We definitely want to be seeing more of that concept than any other concept. And also we definitely in social media, because obviously that goes on. There's obviously plenty of stable households in the black community, but unfortunately, are we seeing that? And that's why we did say like having your own digital black blueprint, where you actively follow productive family-based Instagram and these other kind of apps, whatever Meta, whatever they call it now, whatever, algorithms, where when you open your phone and you look at these particular apps, you're seeing constructive families. I think it can be easy to be lost in the world of make believe and social network and stuff, where you're seeing the same kind of negative stuff that becomes popular, and that's what people share. And it might give you a one-sided issue of what's actually going on, even though it is probably definitely an issue that needs to be resolved. There is still much that is good that we might not get to see as much, because I think they said, some woman, she said that even Facebook said that bad news gets more sponsorship than good news because it forces people to keep looking, and that's where sponsors come from, something like this. So that's why we have to kind of take control of try to actually show and teach through that way. But that's just me pushing my 10 pence piece.
But Raven, can I also mention, because you said about black women going their own way, there is that I think it's called a diversity movement or divest movement.
That's right, I've heard of it, yes, that's right.
But there's also the Say Her Name movement. And that is about, talking about black women that are being killed or terrorized because they're black women. And, Breonna Taylor, when she was killed by that police officer in that police raid, that type of thing. It's not all about go and find yourself a man that's not black. Say Your Name is about honoring and placing the same value on a black woman or black girl's life that they play on a black man's life. For example, that guy, George, killed in very tragic circumstances. But when you look at him, this guy was an ex-convict with a very violent criminal record. Breonna Taylor was killed by a white police officer too, but she was a paramedic. And her death did not cause worldwide protests. But George, who was an ex-convict that put a gun to a pregnant woman, broke into a house and put a gun to a pregnant woman and served many years in jail. We were told that this black man's life is worth more than the black woman that dedicates her life to saving lives. And this is the problem that black women have, that we are told collectively that we must value a black man that's an ex-convict than a black woman that's actually saving lives, that hasn't got a criminal record. And as tragic as George's death was, and as wrong as it is, the fact of the matter is this guy was not, he's not something that any black child, especially a black boy, should aspire to be. But with Brianna, you can say, yes, why shouldn't you dedicate your life to be a paramedic?
Yeah, and this is, and just to add to what you're saying, when we talk about the divestment community, a lot of them is coming from a place of many black women being fed up with or feel unsafe with unsynchronized black men or corrupted black men who harm, and feeling like they're not going to get any kind of better life with a black man, and so they open their options to go elsewhere. And as Sister Bay also mentioned, the Say Her Name movement, where many black women that feel that the emphasis isn't actually placed on black women. And look, this whole platform is set up for that. I think one of the things we try to push is make sure that accountability and also a traditional family structure, and the man is meant to be the provider and protector in that basic structure. So making sure women are protected is important. And this is how it has to be, really. And yes, this is right. There is a tremendous amount of truth to that when you look at the two. And it is right. Like, when a person dies, this is most unfortunate. And I think with George Floyd, it was more of a symbolic thing rather than his morals, because the shortcomings the brother had, we could never emulate it, never. But we can always try to guide and make sure people don't go down that kind of path. But at the same token, when any life is lost, we should have that same kind of outrage. And many black women are heavily mistreated, and for one reason or another, their name hasn't been said. So this is these are the challenges that the black community face, and there's the ongoing and quite a lot. But before I forget, Brother Kel, do you have anything to add to that? Because you are still part of the panel, brother.
Yeah, I was going to say that, what she was saying about the parents is absolutely right, because it's our parents, unfortunately, are teaching these self-hate principles, which, if we do make it into the world, into economics or celebrity status, then the celebrities propaganda self-hate. One time I was watching a comedy roast. I don't know if anyone knows about that. And it was the roast of Snoop Dogg. And it had French Montana, and it had Michael Blackson, that comedian.
Yes.
There was a Jewish guy on there, very recessive in complexion. And what was amazing to me is that when it came to Michael Blackson, who's a brilliant African comedian, those who know about him is in Friday 2, next Friday 2, is that he started to, use derogatory terms about his complexion, which, he's melanated like we all are. And everyone was laughing, the African descendants like Snoop Dogg and the rest of them. And this is what I'm saying is that those who are trying to Pan-Africanize themselves or have Pan-African upbringing, when it comes to being around non-Africans, it is very difficult, because they assume that you're not supposed to say anything. They assume that you shouldn't do anything at all, due to the self-hating black people, which is why Brother Raven said before, I always cringe when an African descendant who's not Pan-Africanized or has the philosophies the Honorable Marcus Garvey speaks for us, because 9 out of 10 times the non-Africans are going to campaign that. And then it becomes like a propaganda of self-hating and producing more self-hating amongst even the non-Africans.
Yeah. So what Brother Kel was saying there, that one thing we want to highlight now is we do want to make a distinction between high principle behavior and error-prone behavior. And unfortunately, much error-prone behavior is very profitable, and it seems to be mainstream. I haven't really listened to a lot of mainstream songs, but I have recently, and obviously things have changed now that you have algorithms and YouTube, which is like choice-based TV allegedly. And so I assume people can easily access this stuff. And some of the songs I've been seeing, I don't know if these could have been played 10, 15 years ago. Just the content. Don't get me wrong. There's always been era pro music since the beginning of the vinyl age, whatever, right? But I think it's the accessibility and also how era pro music can be easily consumed by children. I think if we look at the country and western rapper, the so-called country western rapper Lil Nas X, obviously he's bouncing from doing books and this kind of stuff to making songs about prison and naked men dancing around and having relationships with this kind of stuff, right? So and obviously there's the whole stripper phenomenon. I mean, look, if strippers want to rap and prison gay activity want to rap, this is all fine. But this is hitting millions of billions of views. So you can say that this kind of stuff is mainstream, and obviously this is having an influence. Also, just to draw the Lil Nas X comparison, I think one of the songs he released had a European on there, and the European was the only person who might have actually been dressed a certain way, quite elegantly. It looked like he had some kind of value system. I don't know, whatever. Right? But that's just me. Yes. Let's see. Let's read some of the comments. Blacks in his modern day minstrel. Okay, let's not use try to use terms. What does it mean? This guy's panel worshiping. Okay, cool. So obviously some people disagree with certain kind of joke with fans. But what Brother Kel was saying is self-deprecation and this kind of stuff makes comedy, and many comedians do it. But it's what you draw from. Like making fun of yourself to make others laugh makes you uncomfortable, and unfortunately, mistreating yourself, your melanin or your heritage, this is something that does go on, and it's something that we need to review, and something that might make non-black people, which actually connects with the topic.
Can I talk about in terms of this? It's something you said about this whole mixed race thing. One of the things I see this Wiley guy that's got a lot to say about me. One of the things he started talking about in mixed race, he started talking about Nigeria, and one of the things in Nigeria has a population of Arab people. So it's probably about 400,000 people in northern Nigeria who are Arab. Their ancestors come from Chad and Sudan. And even though they are Nigerians, many of them will say like they have one grandfather that is Arab. They will over-identify with that 25% and ignore the 75% of black indigenous, and claim that they're Arab, and some of them won't even say they're black. As like in this video, in the video you shown, that the people that are mixed race, many of them will refuse to identify with their black heritage and just say they're mixed or whatever term that they're using. This kind of stuff. Yeah, and then try and subjugate the people who are just black. And I think one of the issues. And this is why I don't agree. I personally don't believe it's a good idea to keep on saying that mixed race people are just black, because what you find is that, from what I know with the white people, when you allow mixed race people to just say they're black and ignore the 50% Europeanness or whatever it is, what you find with white people historically, they refuse to look after those children and dump them in the black community. And that burden is placed on black people. So black people can't do self-care and look after themselves, they've got to also look after white people who are refusing to take responsibility for the children that they've created. And that's like that mommy complex, where you have the stereotype of black women being the mommy, where they will look after everybody else's kids at the expense of their own health. And this allows white people collectively to act like children, where they don't have to acknowledge the children that they've created. And that's a big problem, because it feeds into their ego. And this is what you'll find with white supremacy, that it's very egotistical. Do you know what I mean? And also, because those children that are mixed race, they're a part of the black community as well as the white community. Now, I have heard many mixed race people say the reason why they call themselves black is because the white community does not allow them to, acknowledge their whiteness. Yeah.
Mhm.
But the fact of the matter is, you are still half white. Yeah. And you must take that to the white community and make them take responsibility. Yeah. Because you're still part of them. And if you don't do that, what you're doing is placing a burden on the black community. And the black community have always looked after those mixed race children. It is time for the white community to acknowledge what they've done. They're their children too.
Thank you, Sister Betty. Sister Betty giving her opinion there. Very cool.
Bro,
Go ahead, brother. Let me just say this point, and then you can jump.
I'll go after you. It's okay, bro. I'll go after you.
I'm just going to tackle the first point that Sister made, because it's something that we will be tackling more. And it is this concept of where you have people in Africa and in diaspora where they have a connection to a non-African, non-black concept or a lineage or a culture or a language. So we can say Arab or Spanish or Indian or whatever it might be. And because of the self-hatred of African or blackness, they will super over-identify. Sister Betty brought up that, I am Arab. It happens. Some of them might just literally live in a country, and because they speak the language, then they are that. And then you see a more intense version of, obviously, Sister Betty spoke about the Arab small population in Nigeria. But if you would go to, say, Haiti and Dominican Republic, at the Dominican Republic side, you see a very, obviously there's Afro-Dominicans who are proud of it, but you do see a very anti-African. And obviously this comes from the government used to, hunt and attack Africans, people African descent, the Haitians, and, and very anti-African religion and cultural customs. And this is what we see the byproduct afterwards. Sister Betty then goes on to identification of allowing people of European parenting, meaning one parent is of a European descent, and saying that traditionally, historically, they were known as Negroes and black, just like everyone else. But Sister Betty is saying that there should be more emphasis placed upon the European, who refuses completely to acknowledge the connection between the offspring and them. And this is a strategy that Sister Betty's pushing forward. Let me stop now. Brother Cal, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand, like, the Honourable Marcus Garvey made it clear that he preferred that we identified as Africans instead of a colour, because the Africa is backed up by culture and minerals and etc. Yes. The point is that there's an African descent, I think her name is Brownie Diaries. She said something to do with that. They don't want to identify as North African black, they class themselves as Arab. And as a Pan-Africanist, we study everything, and Arab actually means a way of expressing a particular language. That's all Arab means, right? But if you look at it carefully, because of the self-hate and the narrative of the non-Africans, is that it's better to be classed as an Arab, meaning articulating, expressing a language, than to be classed as black. There was another gentleman, I think his name W. Wileys. He says that how is a mixed race very offensive? Well, let's unpack that. Notice mixed race. There's no such country as a mixed race. There's no such country as it. Mulatto. We have words like quarter caste, which means quarter the white and caste the black. Half caste again is very mythological. You know what I mean? Caste the black, keep the white. These are the self-hating narrative that has been put down on us, which is why we should never be calling us these names. There's no such thing as mixed race, half caste, quarter caste. These names were given to us, and our self-hate keeps on producing them. Because as I said before, now white and Europeans called mixed race, they're a variation of different shades of brown, but they'll never ever call themselves that because they understand there's no such thing as it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Brother Carl. So Brother Carl was talking about these terms and how they might affect us, and it is interesting. And this also bleeds into
Sorry, Raymond. This guy Weiler, he's making really arrogant, ignorant comments, and just obviously has a problem with Africans. But when you start making comments like Somalians are Arabs, but beg it in the UK when it suits them. The Somalians are not Arab, yeah. But just the ignorance that is displayed, that you're displaying towards. You obviously don't know much about Africans and who they are if you think the Somalians are Arab. Yeah.
Hold on a second, man. Let me just jump out. I'll let you finish in a bit. We try not to use name calling in the forum. I don't think normally we have.
Yeah, but he's been calling my name, so
Yeah, the one I'm going to say is that I don't think our what do they call the word when you stop things from refs, not refs. The word where you put people on timeout when they write stuff. Brother, you might not be Brother W or Sister W. You might not be there for the beginning, but we try not to use derogatory terms there because it takes the conversation somewhere else. We use something. I don't know if you have actually your phone, but we use the 4D values here: discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. And we definitely do not use certain kind of terms because what it is, I usually miss a lot of stuff standing there, but people will see it and this will become a topic. So if possible, we can try to form your criticisms in the form of a question or observation, but try not to make it emotionally take over you. If you are male, if you are a man, one of the things we're trying to do, man, so I should say man, not male to be fair. If you're a man, one of the things I try to teach men, and we're going to have maybe shows on this, is the value of not allowing yourself to be emotional and not allowing yourself to be completely controlled. Maybe in the creative aspect, you want to make a movie or a kind of song, and you feel it's necessary. Okay, I can't speak on that. When it comes to actually trying to have civilized debates with other black people, because of the history of self-hatred and it's hard to really get everyone synchronized, I would definitely recognize we try not to use any kind of names and stuff like that, and try to formulate.
Yeah, saying that Betty is the embodiment of self-hate. Yeah, Wiley. So that's what you were doing. So don't play like a coward when you're throwing shots at me. Yeah, but just a lot of these comments are directed to Africans, Nigerians. Now he's on Somalians. But one of the issues, getting back to this mixed race thing, yeah, and mixed heritage thing, whatever you want to call it. One of the issues is you cannot force children who come from out of Africa, who have heritage out of Africa, just to identify as African, and that's it. Because this is one of the problems that is being caused in Africa, where you have, like North Africa, you have people some of their ancestors came from Rome, some of them came from Turkey, some of them came from Arabia, some of them came from Europe, and obviously they have indigenous blood, but that is causing huge conflict. You will meet men, you're talking about the Caribbean, Raven, but you can come and meet Sudanese people who are as brown as me, but they will tell you they're Arab. And obviously, majority of their ancestors must have been African, but they say they are Arab because Arab is seen as more civilized and more sophisticated. But it's not. I do not believe it's a good idea to force them to just say they're African. And this is what the same thing with this mixed race thing, where people insist in calling people like Obama a black man. He's African first. What you're creating a conflict in those people, where where you're telling them to ignore one side of their heritage. It has to be balanced, because when that thing plays out in Africa, those people are now attacking the indigenous Africans because same thing goes in the Caribbean and the Americas. Yeah, we've heard it where people are saying, well, I'm not black, and then you got the other people that are also like someone like Obama that was like, I'm just black.
Well, let me answer that, and then I think Brother Ken wants to jump in. And we always have to say thank you to debate, because debate really gives us these concepts that really start good, passionate debate, which is always we look forward to. What I would say is this: one thing that I always say is I do recommend that constructive black man marries constructive black woman, or and cultural based. So Nigerian, Jamaican, or Jamaican, Nigerian, where it might be. all this kind of stuff, right? But what I would say is I'm never going to name someone because I don't know their upbringing, and I don't know how it feels to have a non-black parent. I have an African Caribbean mom and an African Caribbean father, so I don't know what it means. So I don't know the influence that having a non-black parent can have. So I can't speak. But what I can say is what I do allow is if a person who does have a black parent is synchronized with any form of Pan-Africanism, Black betterment, B1ism, where they're dedicated to practice that, then there's historical people who were this way synchronized, and they were more so because the system they're in, they had no other choice. So maybe they're just righteous people, what it might be. So I'm silent on this issue, but today I do not force a word on someone who has a parent who only has one black parent, because I don't know, but I know there's some other people who have different stuff, but I allow them to tell me how they identify, and if they identify with the black struggle, with black people, then I carry on the conversation. And I think for me, unsynchronization is a deep issue in the sense of even if I'm talking to a fully, quote unquote, when I say fully, as in two parents who are of African descent, they might not be synchronized with any form of betterment. And so I still would, even though I acknowledge them as black, I don't necessarily acknowledge them as black betterment led. So I know that the things I say might even confuse them and cause fury because they're not synchronized with black betterment. But Brother Kel, I know you wanted to speak, so go ahead.
It is the thing, Brother Raven, right? Some of us, right, we have black parents, but are from different tribes and stuff, right?
Yes.
Like for myself, both my parents are black, but they're from different tribes, right? And what you find out is that tribalism starts to come in. Now, if you look at the Europeans, right, they have different tribes. Some of them have, then one of their parents would be Irish, Welsh, German, Norwegian, etc., right? But they understand that these types of labels will allow the Africans to be able to get back to power again. So what we should do is unite, hide our flaws, and improve our strengths. And this is the thing I was saying when it comes to us, and that is that Sister Betty, right, she's correct that in regards to their dual heritage, right? But at the same time, there's no mixed race land. You will never get it. There's no power there, and it's not backed by anything. There's also no quarter caste, half caste land, but there is continents. And what my sister needs to understand, just like in the beginning and just like now that's being laid out, is that you go by the land where there's resources, the land where there's dominant. Now, if someone can explain to me in the comment, or even you, Brother Raven, is there a mixed race land?
Well, let's look at North Africa. North Africa is full of people who ancestors came from Eurasia as well as Africa. One of the issues in North Africa right now is the idea that you can just claim one part of your heritage and suppress the other part. Like if you, as a black African, go to North Africa, you're going to get subjugated by the peoples whose many of these people almost look white, who are refusing to acknowledge their African ancestors because most of their ancestors would have come from Eurasia. So, and this is what I mean by just allowing people to just claim one part of their heritage. It can cause problems, Raven. This is why you see in Libya, you saw the people lynch those black African people, and they will tell you, Kale, can you go on mute? Because you've got background noise. Yeah.
Are you referring to me? Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, please. You've got background noise. Yeah. One of the things that, because they over-identify with this Arab term, they ignore their African roots. They will go and tell you as a black person, go back to Africa, but Libya is in Africa. So this is what I mean by this. Be aware of the effects of when it comes to mixed race people, or people of mixed heritage, allowing them just to claim one part of who they are, because black people getting roasted. And I don't know if any of you people, I don't know, I'm not going to talk too much on the Caribbean. I'm talking on the African because I know a lot of Africans that have been to Libya, been to North Africa. Yeah. And that is the issue where mixed people are not told that claim everything of who you are instead of just claiming the people, the colonizer. Because if those people in North Africa would claim all of their heritage, they would not have the barefaced cheek to hang black people and tell them to go back to Africa like they're not in Africa, and that like black people are not indigenous to North Africa.
Cool. And once again, Betty dropping her information there, and we value it. And I would say, just before Brother Kerr jumps in, one thing that we try to do on this show, or I at least push personally, is a synchronization between body and mind. And the reason I say this is because that you will find fully Africans or fully Caribbeans or mixed Caribbeans with mixed Africans and all the black variants in the world. And they might have all this melanin and all this kind of history and stuff within them, but still they're not synchronized because their mind is synchronized. And I did say personally that the change of betterment that I view is going to come from a smaller percentage. And that's why in the beginning I brought up this concept here, which we shall show for those who come late. And that is, this show is known as Black Betterment, and it's basically promoting a lifestyle of black people looking after black people. If you practice that, then that way, when you talk to other black people, it just makes more sense because you have the same goal. Now, once you're synchronizing these concepts, you can join fellowships, which is brotherhoods and sisterhoods dedicated to improving the liveliness of black people in the area, in the world, or whatever it might be, right? So for me personally, I think there's nothing but facts that Sister Bertie is saying. However, I'm even cautious around unsynchronized mixed black, full black, so-called full black, and so-called this. If a person's ideology, meaning where they want a collective group to prosper and better, if they're not synchronized with that, once I bring them in any kind of collective betterment, a unit, a fellowship, a brotherhood, a sisterhood, they will sabotage it. If anyone wants to follow my speeches on Speaker's Corner, you will see the unsynchronized brothers and sisters who come in, and the first thing they do is just they practice kumbayarism and this kind of stuff. And Sister Bay might be correct there, where if a person has been raised with a European parent, they might then come in, or any kind of parent, Chinese, what it might be, whatever. They might come in and say, well, let's actually build half for Chinese, half for African. And I don't think that's going to necessarily work in a black betterment lifestyle concept. But let me stop now because Brother Kel wanted to say something. Brother Kel, go ahead.
Well, brother, that goes back into the topic. Self-hate helps the non-Africans to carry out the agenda. Because as I was saying before, if we unpack the word Arab, which I've made it clear already, it means to articulate and express in that language. That's what it means. Doesn't mean black, white, or brown. It means expressing an articulated way in a language. If you look at Europe, which comes from the African queen Aruba, right? We know that she was an African woman. Do you understand? So when Sister Bay, all due respect to her, right, she was talking about the Africans going in, into Libya, and they're facing from the lighter ones. The lighter ones understand this, right? There's no way I'm going to be classed as mixed race because they understand there's no value in that name. There's no such thing as it. But I'm going to call myself Arab because it's backed up by a political dominant type of movement. Just like, for example, if you look at the word African and stuff, right, that also is backed up even more with, the cultures enriched. But when you start using words like mixed race and quarter caste and half caste, it has no value. And the non-Africans understand that, which is why they'll get us to call each other these names, while the ones who are not of the original hue will call themselves by the name of the land. And that's what I want the viewers to understand, that these names is only there to confuse you and to get you out of your rights of your landmass as well as your culture, because the non-Africans understand that very well. They know that they're not original in the lands that they are, but they'll never ever call themselves mixed race, quarter caste, right? They will never call themselves that. They'll only use it if it's going to bring bridges to, you know, non-Africans to help each other out, but they'll never call themselves that because there's no such land as it.
Look, to tell you the truth, Kyle, I think you seem to have a huge problem with acknowledging that the word mixed race, mixed heritage, whatever you want to call it, you know, whether you like it or not, these people are mixed. Yeah, that's just how it is. Bob Marley, he's mixed. He's as white as he was black. Yeah. The reason why he identifies with blackness is because the white community refused to accept him. And the black community accepts him. Yeah? So all this, and this business of saying about Arab, it doesn't matter what the original term, the Arab means. It does not mean that anymore. The word Arab, when they say the Arab, they mean the culture, the language. As Latino, yeah, that it's a cultural collective group that share a same culture, similar values, etc., regardless if they came from different origins. Words evolve. You seem to want to harp on the etymology of the word and the beginning of the word. Everybody knows that the beginning of that word no longer has the same meaning. But you cannot try, and this is what I mean by the sort of aggressiveness of many people in the black community demanding that mixed race people see themselves as black and black only. But they react. But you do not seem to care that the white people don't have to take care of the children that they created. That you're allowing white people and these Asians and these Arabs and all these people that created all these children to not take responsibility for their children. So once again, black people get dumped with the burden. And you don't seem to care about the effect that has on black people. That they're overburdened with children. They're taking responsibility for the children they created with outsiders. But the outsider doesn't want to take responsibility. And this is one of the issues that we have now. In Kenya, you have black women that were raped by British soldiers. These British soldiers refused to acknowledge the children that they created. Now they have to take the British Army to court because they dumped their mixed-race children in Kenya, knowing that those women would struggle to get married and struggle to even raise those children. But this idea that black people have to, they're black first. What of the white man that raped a black woman and dumped them? So you're saying with this idea that this mixed race people are just black first and African first. So the white man that came to violate the black woman doesn't have to acknowledge the pain and suffering he's caused because you want the numbers for this black movement, but you don't care of the black women that were raped and left holding the children. This white man that is terrorizing black women and raping, he doesn't have to acknowledge the children that he created or pay a single penny. The very fact that Kenyan women had to take the British Army to court, for goodness sake. There's consequences to saying that mixed race people are just black first and just African first.
Right. So let's unpack it. So
it's not so much wanting the numbers, this debate. It's to do with unraveling the foolishness and ridiculous statements or non-African people to label each other out. I'll give an example. There is a prolific figure in history. His name's Bilal, the son of Rabah, right? His father was a black Yemeni, right? And his mother was an Ethiopian queen. But you'll never, ever hear any non-African person talk about his mixed race due to the fact that his tribe is not the same as his father's tribe, not the same as his mother's tribe. But the moment something with European or Asian is, that's when it becomes a mixed race. And that's what I try to explain to you, is that we have to control these narratives, as what Brother Raven's done. He's come up with a show called Self-Hating allowing the non-Africans to join in. We have to change the narrative. I'm not saying that all of us are going to be on board, because quite frankly, in that, right, it's going to be a small amount of us anyway in that, because a lot of us are unsynchronized, whether we have a European mother or not. We're a lot of us are unsynchronized, but the point is it's changing the narrative so we control it and we dictate it. Number two, Sister Bayon, you cannot expect Europeans or Asians to take on their children when they have procreated with the black woman. They're not your friends. Dr. John Henry Clark made it clear, we don't have any friends. So for them to take the responsibility and us thinking that they should, that makes no sense. We should start breeding with non-African people, but we have no friends. It's clear.
This is what I mean, and this is why I would say it's because you're a man. That you obviously didn't listen to the word rape, because it's obviously there's no European man that can come and rape you. It is only us black women that can get raped by a European man. The fact of the matter is this, and listen carefully to what I said. The Kenyan women were raped by the European. So you, as an African man, you're happy for, or you don't care. Let me not say that you're happy, that you do not care that the white man can come and rape the African woman, impregnate her, and then the African woman gets left holding the baby. And this is what I would say, that it is fair that you do not want to stand up to the European man, that you will take on his burden and his child, and you're treating him like he's a child, and you do not care for the pain that is caused to the African woman. And this is why black women are saying we got to go our own way, because black men are not going to protect the black woman. They will let the black man come in the community, rape her, impregnate, and they will do nothing.
Brother Kel, my answer to this, you can jump in afterwards, just because Sister Bay always comes with a passion, and she always comes with historical facts, and we have to, and we're trying to create dialogues where people go back and forth and find solutions. What I was saying to Sister Bay is this: I think one thing we want to establish is let's create the scenario. And you said something that Europeans historically raping African women. So what is it what actions is Brother Kel saying where they cannot seek justice for that action? It's because Brother Kel can speak for himself, but if there's any form of suing, harming that can happen to the aggressors in that situation, I suspect.
Raven, he just said you can't expect them to take responsibility, meaning he's not going to force them or challenge them to do it.
Well, he let him define that, but for me as a man here, if any woman in general, but is raped by anyone, justice it needs to, some form of justice needs to be the option. It needs to be the only option, really. We can say that.
You remember though, when a black man goes and rapes a white woman, how many times did a white man hang black men? Even some of these black men never even raped these white women. They just looked at, were accused of looking. The white man would not tolerate that from any black man, but black man will tolerate a white man coming to terrorize black women.
Well, let's
That's the difference.
Okay, let's form. So the first thing we have to start off is that we start by thoughts, then action. So we have to make sure that our thoughts are synchronized. So I can say, because there's only 3 people on this panel, that any woman being raped, any man that's aware of it, I would like to think is on the side of justice for that woman. Now, where this story unpacks is we can talk about responsibility and justice, but I would say if a European has historically raped an African, I don't think it is necessary for that European to have any part in the raising of that child. I would say that act alone separates them from any form of fatherhood. So in one aspect, yes, they should have to pay with their life or their finance or both, but I think the act of rape separates them from being identified as a actual father. Would you agree with that, Sister Bray? Not so much.
I think that's a little bit contentious.
Go ahead.
The fact of the matter is, regardless of whether a child is conceived with rape, the man has to be responsible. And then the community, and this is why black women, this is why you keep hearing black women going their own way. Because when white men terrorize, and this story's all over, even in Haiti, you hear the French soldiers went to go and rape up little African children in Haiti, in Congo, and nothing's done. But the day a black man, they even sniff, they say, oh, he touched a white woman. Oh, suddenly, oh hell, white men will make the black man pay and the black community pay. And this is why black women are saying that the same energy is not there when it comes to black women and black girls.
Well, let's try to change this. One thing I would say is I'm not too sure what you're pushing forward for people who rape women and impregnate them, their responsibilities. I would
Why shouldn't they take responsibility, Raven? They don't even acknowledge it. Why has Kenya had to take the British Army to court if the British acknowledge it?
Okay, that's a collective concept. I'm talking about the individual acts. But yeah, if a nation point, if people invade and they do the stuff, then this is something. No one can disagree with that, I would like to think. But remember, we're talking
Raven, I'm not talking individual. This is the thing. I'm not talking individual. I'm not talking individual white men. What I'm saying is collectively, white people do not acknowledge the children that they've conceived with Africans. This is why you have the idea that these mixed race people are just black. Because we all know that the white people refuse, whether it was in America, the Caribbean, or Africa, they would not take their pick-in. They would leave us with the pick-in and take off running and go and terrorize some other group. Yeah?
So if we agree, Sister Betty, that I think we all do, that justice has to be served for the black women who were mistreated, and some kind of conversation and arrest has to be happened to the... Obviously, some things will be historic, I guess. Would that say that, if we agree with that...
It's not even that. Some of these things are not even... What's it, 1997? When were the French in Haiti? When did they have that earthquake? It was only a couple of years ago. This is what I mean. So, and this is the problem. Some of these things that we're talking about, they're not historical. They're going on right here, right now. But the profile... You don't hear it because mainly white men own the media. This is why this George guy that tragically died, because it is white men that own the media. And white men, it is about white men. They value a man's life. Yeah? They will put a man. They'll say, oh, look, this black man was killed, cold-blooded by a white man. Yeah? Because it boosts their ego. And collectively, that's going to terrorize black people to know that, remember your place, because we can still, all those black women and children, what do we see when we see Floyd being killed by a white man? To know that the black man is not strong enough to protect us, that the male figure that is meant to protect us can get snuffed out by a white man, yeah, and nothing can be done with it. That is why George was put around the world and a black woman wasn't. Because it's not, it's men doing battle.
Right.
You see, how many black men did I hear cry because George died? Because it was psychological warfare. It was to let you know that we're still in charge.
Right.
And don't ever get outside of your place.
Right. So something must be done about this, right? Would you say something needs to be done, Sister Beck?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am with those black women that are saying that I ain't got me as a black man. I ain't gonna wait on no black man to protect me, because I know black men collectively, and I'm not talking individually. If you're one of these black men and you're married, you got a black kid, a black wife, and you look after her, big up to you. But I'm talking collectively. You can't rely on black men to protect black women, because they're not going to do it. They don't. Many black men collectively are scared of the white man. Let's be honest.
Sister Betty,
they would rather attack black women than have the same energy for white men.
This may be go on, Brother Raven, go on.
No, I was going to say, so just so you know, we start every show, but unfortunately, at the moment, black people are collectively inadequate. And some of the basics, as in, provide and protect in many aspects of life, is in disarray. And it must be corrected. Of course, individually, there's many people in the black community who do fantastic jobs. But this is a collective notion. This is something that we need to do. And Sister Bay was talking about the symbolic warfare and why maybe the killing of a man might be used more so than the killing of a woman. And that's what Sister Bay put forward. Brother Cal, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you know, the sister is right in regards to you know, the promotion of the man more than the woman, but she's got to understand the Roman Greco culture. You know, they all believe that the woman is the handmaid of the devil because apparently she made the man eat the apple. So all women are evil in the Roman Greco culture. But what Sister Bay's got to understand is that it's the white man will not be saving the black woman, neither would the brown man, neither would the red man or the yellow man. It's the black man that's going to be saving the black woman. And the reason why that is historically, and that no white man, no brown man, yellow man, or red man has ever participated in saving the black woman. And that's where she's got to understand, yes, we are unsynchronized, some of us, but you're never going to get no non-African man going to save the black woman. Because last time I checked, sister, unfortunately, they are sterilizing the African woman in the Caribbean, on the continent and everywhere, you know what I mean? And they're making them they're giving them loyal towards these benefits to making them realize that you don't need the black man. These are not savior qualities. These are extermination qualities. And as far as like when it comes to me not caring about the black woman being raped and things like that.
Okay, one moment. First and foremost, you're putting words in my mouth. I never said that the white man or the brown man was going to save the black woman. You said that, yeah. So if that's what you took from what I said, that's not what I said. And I don't believe that black men are going to save black women. Black women are going to save themselves because black men can't even save themselves. How the hell they're going to save black women, I don't know. Yeah, where were all the black men when George was getting snuffed out? Yeah, they can't even save themselves. So no, you know, and this is what I would say to black women. You know, black men have, you know, hear the story of the Ashanti and Yaya Santiwa, when those black men in Ashanti land were too afraid to take on the white man, it was a black woman, Santiwa, the Queen Mother, that had to go and lead the battle because black man couldn't find his balls. So this is what I'm saying. There's going to come a time you as a black woman, you're going to have to ride out for the black community because the black man's going to be in the back trying to find his balls. Don't wait on the black men collectively to save you because they're not going to do it. They've shown time and time again that they're not going to do it. And don't wait on the brown man or the white man to do it either. You're going to have to find your balls. They're called two ovaries.
But also remember, Sister Betty, is that when the, you know, Nani Ashantiwa, and you are right, she was her bravery. But when the Europeans moved the chair and the throne away, it was the black man who embodied himself as a chair and allowed Nani Ashantiwa to sit down, and the Europeans couldn't believe it, how these black African men embodied themselves as a chair for their black queen. Why? Because the black man and the black woman, they the one that civilized this planet by the will of the creator, and they're the ones that's going to get us out of this heck that we're in. So I totally disagree with some of the things what you says, but at the same time, you know, when it comes to the South hating, we do have to change that narrative because the non-African people do embody and do use it against us. They do it in hip-hop, they do it in the music industry, they do it in workplaces, they do it in socialism, they do it all the time, to the extent that if you do rise up to that, it's almost as if you've changed something, you know, in the whole planet. So we do have to change the narrative, and we have to change the concept that mixed race and quarter caste, all these ridiculous terms where, as I said before, a mixed race light brown person won't even allowed to be buried in a European cemetery in UK and Europe. So my thoughts on that.
So let me I'd just thank Brother Kel always for speaking, and Sister May, welcome back for starting a very interesting debate, very, very important as well, and it's all connected. And what I would say is there is a future talk that Sister Bay has started that we're going to have, and it is the role of the black man and how black women see black men. And she has mentioned something that's very critical, that black women have to look after themselves, that no other man is going to come. This does highlight the collective inadequacies of black people. And one thing, the training we have to do before we have this conversation is show discipline from the males who are going to hear this kind of rhetoric, this kind of talk, and be able to actually see where it's coming from, agree with it, disagree with it, but create scenarios where the only thing we're doing is form solutions. What we will find now is, unfortunately, there will be many men who haven't been trained how to control their emotions. And they will hear black women be not best pleased with the collective actions of many men. And then they will engage in a rage shout, an argument shout. And we're going to hopefully use a platform like this to train black men how to best listen to black women, and also how to extract the truth and how to react with the truth. As usual, Sister Bay comes with a very important truth that she's observed, and a very important truth that many black men have to actually digest. So this is all learning. I've also posted a link to Sister Yara Ashantiwa.
Can I also make people aware of the Eritrean and Ethiopian War, the War of Independence, where Eritrea was seeking independence from Ethiopia because they had their empire into it. They took her. The British handed over Eritrea to Ethiopia. Yeah, so they were under occupation for 30 years. It was the women of Eritrea that also had to fight on the battlefield. This idea, and I think many black men get their sense of manhood from white men, even though they don't want to admit it. That this idea, they have this fantasy. White men love to portray a fantasy that they are so manly. You know, they go on the battlefield, they protect their family and their children. And I hear many black men do this. But there are many places in Africa. We know the Fon warriors. They were women. The Eritrean women, they went and fought on the battlefield. Yeah. So, and this is but black men, they like to indulge in fantasies that they get from white men. The fact of the matter is, women have fought on the battlefield and protected their homeland, their children, their men, all this stuff. This fantasy that they haven't. This is just a male patriarchy coming from the West. Because when you try and claim that it's just black men that ever fought on the battlefield, this is not true. You only have to look at the Eritrean War of Independence. Go and type in Eritrean War of Independence and you'll see the women with the AK-47s. Because they fought as men on the battlefield. The same thing with the Fon warriors, where the French were talking about, it's a woman, and then they lost their head.
But Sister Bessie, last time I checked, when it
do not try and diminish the role of black women and African women on the battlefield. With that Shantiwa, those African men were too afraid to fight, and they refused to fight until she whooped their ass. Yeah, with that fire that black women are known for giving. That's when they found their balls to go on the battlefield. But if she wouldn't have done that, God knows what would have happened.
But Sister Bette,
you as an African woman, do not wait on these black men. You saw how many black men get killed by white men collectively. You see them rise up. They don't. Don't wait on them. You came into this world and you're going to leave on your own.
But Sister Bette, as an African descendant as yourself, you should know that it was the African man and the African woman that's always fought the battles. You see, and this is no disrespect to you and that, right? This is what I'm talking about. The unsynchronized ways where a narrative will get changed, because I know that the African woman has definitely won a lot of wars. I'm a Pan-Africanist. We know this very well. However, right, the majority of the wars was always them. In the Haitian Revolution, do you know that it was the African woman that was helping against the French, the British, and the what's her name? In the Honorable Marcus Garvey movement, when the Garveyites were fighting the Ku Klux Klan, the African woman was there as well. Here's the thing though, to make it one-sided thing as a gender thing, that the black woman's on her own and things like that, that's not Pan-Africanism. That's unsynchronized, because in all wars, whether it's ancient and even modern, the African woman and the African man have always fought against the non-Africans. This is Pan-Africanism. So all due respect to you, sister, we have to remember that. We have to always take it back to the unity, because last time I checked, it's the Asians who don't believe that the African woman or their women are equal. The European man don't believe in that, and neither does the Arab. But the Africans always believe that the African woman and the African man are one. Always.
This is the thing. This I don't think you quite understand, and I think this is another issue that I'm seeing with a lot of African men, that's black men, that you know, they keep on saying unity. Look, the fact of the matter is, you know, you come into this world on your own, you're gonna die on your own. Yeah, black men and black women, they're not the same person. You're a partnership. Yeah. You're meant to complement. You're not the same thing. A man's experience is not the same as a woman. There's no man that will sit there to go through childbirth with me. So forget about all this unity nonsense. You were not there. You were not going through the childbirth and having something coming out of your vagina. So, and it's very disrespectful for men to claim that they went through it with us. No, you didn't. You sat on the sidelines. Yeah, because that's the way it's meant to be. Your role is something different. Yeah.
Right. I don't think I was a disagree with you when it comes to childbirth and stuff. But I think what Brother Kerr was saying is when you look at the history of Africa, ancient history and towards modern, there seems to be a lot of stories told where men and women were fighting side by side, and also queens who were leading in battle, this kind of stuff. And I think he was showing that this kind of storytelling, truth-telling, history that's told, it isn't really told in outside groups. And I think when you hear it in European groups, like Joan of Arc and stuff, it becomes more of a fantasy kind of thing rather than the actual reality history. And as you say, with the Eritrean War of Independence, this is really recent black and white Afro kind of pictures you're going to see if you click on this kind of stuff. And this shows that black women were there. But I think what he's saying is there is a history of black women and men fighting together. And there might be some separation in the diaspora today, having influences from outside, but generally this was something where they on the battlefield they were somewhat equal. I don't know if you disagree with that, but even though they were men and women, they were fighting for the same kind of cause because they understood they were from the same family group, nation group, and they wanted the same kind of thing. So I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
No, that was my point. That African women have fought as African men, and then he turned it to Betty. I don't think you know. Do you know about the Haitian women fighting? When I was actually the one that said the African woman got up and fought. It wasn't just African men. Yeah. So I think you need to address your question to him and not me. Yeah. But one of the issues that I find with many African men is they try to take women's femininity from them and say that they have the same struggle. You don't have the same struggle. You're not a woman. And you'll never be. And no man's going to tell me when an African woman is being raped that he was there with her and he went through it. He didn't.
Yeah.
And he didn't carry the rapist's child and give birth to it. Yeah. And it's very disrespectful for a man to claim that we're in it together. No, you weren't in it together. Because if you were in it together, you wouldn't have let it happen in the first place. Yeah. And this is what I'm talking about collectively. Yeah, I'm not talking individually. If black men were collectively in it together with black women, you wouldn't have let it happen in the first place. You were not in it together.
Well, I know for 101, when you read the Thomas Jefferson biography and the rest of them, is that the black man and the black woman were raped in slavery, both of them. And the black man would
But it was not carrying a baby, Kyle.
If you can allow me.
Stop saying that it's the same experience, regardless of whether men were raped. They did not carry the rapist baby because they can't carry babies, can they?
Sister, in that.
So why are you trying to diminish? Why are you trying to make it the same? It's not the same. There's no black man that ever carried the black man's baby.
If you can allow me, the black man had to help the black woman raise that African child that came through rape. You see, we got to look at Pan-Africanism and the proper blueprints. We can go on the podcast and we can, say certain things, but we got to get the truth. He used to help her raise that African child that came out of rape in captivity. This is the difference between those Africans compared to now. The African woman was raped and the African man should have to help her raise that African child. That's not his child, but he would help to raise. That's Pan-Africanism. And that's what I needed to understand, my sister, is that Pan-Africanism is unity. It starts from that verse. Anything else is things are being manipulated by the non-Africans, because as the show is talking about, self-hate allows non-African people to join in with it. All these other things, Joan and Arc and things, that's their type of history. Our history is unity.
And I say our history is solidarity, not unity, because unity basically means you lose part of who you are. Solidarity means that you come together for a similar cause, but you still keep who you are. So we're gonna disagree on that.
Yeah, and I think we're coming to the end of the show, but we have gone down a path which is very interesting, and that is the path of how women feel about black men. And Sister Bay has a way of processing stuff that's very important. And I think what we're doing is we're finding a way to talk about these very touchy topics, but in ways where there are outcomes. Let's just read some of the messages because we have been getting into it. The last one is self-hate can be broken as we Europeanize to the point that we only operate on individual levels, not the collective, like other nations do. Okay, and that's Kwame Sanoa. I'm saying that wrong, but shame on me twice. But yeah, so brothers and sisters, we've come to the end of the show. Fantastic show. I've put the link out there, but Brother Kel and Brother Bear have come up. And Brother Kel and Brother, they have very, very interesting, unique historical points that you can click on and find out so much. I'd also like to thank both the panel there for actually having strong points, but still getting to the end of it. And I hope to see you guys next week. Would you guys like to say your last words before we go? This is the end of the show. I shall leave it on this front screen of the front one. Oopsie daisy. Where is it going? Let's go missing.
Yeah, can I say thank you for allowing me on and for the topic? And what I would say to many men, do not diminish the role of what it is to bring life into this world. Yeah, because this is what I'm hearing. When he said that black men got raped too, but black man never brought life into this world and spent 9 months carrying that baby. Yeah, and then having to have it. And many black men like to diminish the role of a woman to bring life into this world, and no man will ever understand that and what that does to a woman's body. So no, it ain't the same. Whether you got raped or not, it ain't the same, and it ain't never going to be the same. And stop devaluing that black women have to bring life into this world, and even the fucking rapist's baby into this goddamn world.
Well, hold on, 4 seconds. 2 things. One, we always want to listen to women and their experience, and we're going to learn from it. We're going to try to. Now, the thing is, when we talk about some of these topics, they are very edgy, they are very personal, and they do evoke a lot of, past traumas and stuff. And I would say that if we can try to keep it dignified, and this is the most challenging, and try not to make it take over us. So that's why, if you are a guest there, Betty, and you do feel a certain way, let us know, and we're going to try to work with you. We're going to try to give our opinions and stuff, but we definitely want to make sure we maintain some kind of discipline on the topic, because people are listening and they want to learn. And sometimes if we get consumed with it, it becomes more of a personal issue, and it's really about facts and figures. But thank you for bringing it up. Brother Kel, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I just want to say that as for civilization and culture, it was birthed upon unity of the African man and the African woman. You will have conflicts with the African woman, whether it's your wife, your sister, or you have conflict with the African man, whether it's your husband or your brother. But at the same time, our legacy starts with unity. The statues tells you about that, the scrolls, and we're the only people who valued our women and valued our men. And unity, that's Pan-Africanism. And that's what I'm going to say.
Thank you, Brother Kel. Brother Kel, as usual, has come and dropped amazing information for us, as well as Sister Bay coming in. And we thank them both, because this show is made upon the guests coming and giving their opinions. And if you wish to be a guest, by all means, you click on the link next week. We try to have topics every week. Thank you for how the guests have conducted themselves. We will be starting a conversation about how best for black women and black men can talk together, because at some point there was a breakdown. So hopefully we can start that conversation. But until then, until next week, everyone, have a great Black Bearman. Leave a message, comment what you want to see us talk about. Well, have a good day, and if you can, help Black people progress. That's right. Oh yeah.